Happy October, everyone. It's the month of Halloween, which means that for the next few weeks, I'm going to be very annoying and flood your inbox with lots of Halloween-esque videos, like a Courage the Cowardly Dog iceberg, but that'll be out next week. Today, we're kicking things off by diving into some of the most insane Adult Swim Halloween episodes and specials. Episodes of Adult Swim shows that are creepy, surreal, that may or may not relate to the theme of Halloween. The following shows and specials we're about to talk about are some of my personal favorite Halloween-esque episodes that I believe deserve more love and praise. So if you're someone who's tired of the traditional horror film and wants to make like a pumpkin latte and spice things up, what the hell did I just say? Does that even make any sense? Then buckle up, Buttercup, because this video is for you. If you guys are excited, drop a like on the video, comment below, and with all that said, let's get started. Smiling Friends, a silly Halloween special.
Because you get lost!
A silly Halloween special, the first of two Smiling Friends Halloween episodes, premiered on January 9th, 2022. Yeah, happy Halloween, am I right? The episode basically follows Pim, who's sent into the woods across the street by Mr. Boss to grab some wood for the Halloween fire at work. Because of course, it wouldn't be Halloween without a fire, right? But Mr. Boss warns Pim not to cross the bridge in the woods. So what does Pim do? He crosses the bridge. That's exactly what he does. He crossed the bridge, instantly regretting it as he's now being hunted by a forest demon. Eventually, Pim makes it back to the office, just in time for the fire, bringing along the forest demon, who's then ripped apart and eaten by the party guests, and also lit on fire because, well, they think he's doing blackface. I know that's a crazy twist. What I love about this episode is how it focuses heavily on Pim, going from his usual happy-go-lucky self to being completely petrified. While everyone else is chilling at the office, gearing up for the party, Pim is like in an active war zone trying to survive this demon who could literally tear him to shreds. And I mean, there are so many other reasons why this episode is my favorite, from the multiple animation styles, and of course the perfect comedic timing. And the costumes are pretty awesome too, like Alan is dressed as Joaquin Phoenix's Joker, and Glep and Marge are dressed as the Reagans. If I'm being perfectly honest with you guys, I've gushed about my love for Smiling Friends in so many videos already, so just trust me at this point. A silly Halloween special is a masterpiece and absolutely deserves a spot in your Halloween watch list. And I'm not leaving until you add it. Okay, I'm leaving. Tim and Eric's Bedtime Stories. You know, it's funny, I think this might be the first time I've talked about anything Tim and Eric related here on the channel. In 2013, the comedy duo Tim and Eric, known for creating tons of shows for Adult Swim, as well as their own solo projects, teamed up with Adult Swim to premiere a pilot for an anthology series called Bedtime Stories. The pilot, titled Haunted House, was released on October 31st, 2013, and it's one of the most bizarre, yet extremely intriguing shows I've ever witnessed. It's basically one of the most Adult Swim-coded shows on the network, and by that I mean it perfectly balances creepy vibes, comedy, and surreal moments. The basic plot is that Tim, Eric, and guest star Zach Galifianakis, who are all wearing these ridiculous curly wigs and outfits, each inherit $1,000 in a will, but to claim it, they have to stay in a haunted house. During their time, Tim and Eric are having the time of their lives in this house, while Zach is just getting tormented by ghosts and a haunted bed. There's also this massive fourth wall break where Zach falls down the stairs and breaks his femur, and the whole scene just cuts, revealing all the camera people and everybody. Eventually, it's revealed that the will was completely fabricated by Tim and Eric as an excuse to spend time with Zach. Although I think just calling up Zach and asking if he wants to hang out would have been way better. Although the inheritance was real, it turned out to be millions of dollars rather than just $3,000, but the duo had already spent a lot of it on the house, hiring ghost actors and other nonsense. So Zach finally leaves the house and everyone begins singing, and that's not even the end of the episode either. The pilot then cuts to a live after show with Tim and Eric where they promote a Bedtime Stories app, asking fans to tweet and post pictures to their very real Twitter and Facebook accounts. And they basically do this for about 6 minutes, advertising these accounts in the most absurd way. Then Zach comes in as a special guest, although he doesn't say anything. And the guys even play a never before seen clip from the pilot. And it's just more footage of Zach complaining about hurting his femur. It's basically like a parody of something like The Talking Dead, which used to premiere after each new episode of The Walking Dead. This pilot is just so surreal and hilarious, packed with tons of slapstick comedy too, but not to the painful extremes of something like Johnny Test. The slapstick in Johnny Test was so bad that I almost wanted to pull an Oedipus and gouge my fucking eyes out And that's only scratching the surface of how wild this episode gets. Bedtime Stories is such a fascinating series, and more people should definitely check it out, especially during the spooky season. There are currently 2 seasons of the show. There's probably not going to be a 3rd one, but it's still fantastic, so definitely give it a watch. Aqua Teen Hunger Force: The Shaving.
Well, we did it, guy. High five.
The Shaving was a Season 2 episode of Aqua Teen, which, if I'm not totally mistaken, premiered during Adult Swim's 2003 Halloween special block titled We Will Kill You, which which was a very real thing that occurred. Besides the cold opening featuring Dr. Weird playing with 2 spiders, which turned out to be Steve's eyeballs, oh, okay, you know what, that's actually kind of creepy. The episode follows the Aqua Teens gearing up for Halloween, dressing up, giving out candy, and who the hell is this guy? Oh, okay, so this is Willie Nelson. No, not the singer. He's this 4-legged onion-looking spider who, after nearly 2 seasons, finally appears in the living room to tell Frylock, Shake and Meatwad that he actually lives in the attic. According to him, he was driven into the attic by the villagers for doing 30 and a 25, although the villagers was really just some random guy. Oh, he also shaves every couple days too. Shake, seeing a massive spider monster, expects Willie to be terrifying, but as it turns out, Willie is just a pretty chill spider. Laid back, goes with the flow. Oh yeah, and he literally kills people too and drinks their blood, which isn't cool, by the way. That is the opposite of cool. The entire episode follows Shake as he tries to teach Willie how to scare people, specifically Carl, because he's under this impression that he's not very scary, but it doesn't really work out, you know, until the end of the episode when it's revealed once again that Willie kills and consumes people's blood. Now, of course, I'm biased. I love Aqua Teen, and I make videos on the show all the time. And let me tell you guys, The Shaving is just another great episode of the series, and honestly one of my favorite Halloween-esque episodes of any series, period. It strikes a perfect balance between laid-back comedy and disturbing horror. Plus, Willie Nelson is one of my favorite Aqua Teen villains to date. Would I recommend The Shaving to everyone? Yeah. Go give it a watch right now. It's the perfect episode to watch during the month of October, especially if you only have like 11 minutes to spare. Squidbillies: The Tiniest Princess.
Oh, Lord.
Next up, we have the Squidbillies Season 2 episode, The Tiniest Princess, which premiered on October 29th, 2006. In this episode, Rusty and Early are gearing up to rob people on Halloween, because apparently that's what people do. Until Granny scares the ever-living Christ out of Rusty with a story about a monster named Hellish J that lurks in the woods. And as it turns out, the monster is very, very real. Early tries to intimidate the monster, and then Sheriff rolls up to explain that the monster likes to get really close with people before explaining his short-lived fling with Hellish J until the beast quite literally took a chunk out of his chest. Then another monster, Skylar, who's a little bit more laid back, shows up, and basically Early ends up shooting both of them, killing them, only for them to come back as monster ghosts. But things kind of take like a massive 180 when the monsters start making out with each other, and then Early and the Sheriff embrace until it's revealed that Early, the one on Sheriff, is another monster named the Counter of the Mountertain, who appears to have some form of OCD. Anyways, the Counter and Granny get together at the end of this episode. The 2 monsters continue to make out. Early's house is gone. This episode is just all over. If you thought my explanation made 0 sense whatsoever, just watch the episode itself. You're just... It's a great episode. While this episode doesn't exactly have any standout freaky moments, I did enjoy the pure insanity of it. I also enjoyed the background of Sheriff's romantic past with Jay right before he bites into him. And I'm gonna keep it a buck with you guys, just like the Aqua Teen episode, The Shaving. If you're someone who loves Halloween but is desperate for a very quick laugh and only has like 11 minutes to spare, The Tiniest Princess might be the perfect watch for you this season. Home movies, Coffins and Cradles.
That's my son.
Like Tim and Eric, I also think this is the first time I've ever mentioned home movies on my channel, which is insane, because I talk a lot about Adult Swim. I also talk about video games sometimes. Anyways, one of the oldest and most obscure shows on the network, Home Movies, aired an episode titled Coffins and Cradles on May 25th, 2003. Again, close enough to Halloween. May 25th, October 31st, they're kind of like neighbors. In this episode, Melissa, Jason, and Brendan are gearing up for a Halloween party. Meanwhile, Brendan's stepmom, Linda, is on the verge of giving birth. At the same time, Coach McGurk briefly reconnects with Stephanie, but things take a wild turn when Coach has a heart attack, forcing him to miss the Halloween party. Speaking of which, the party basically gets canceled when Mr. Lynch, Melissa, Brendan, Paula, and baby Josie all rush to the hospital with Linda to deliver the baby. The episode basically wraps up with Brendan yelling at Linda, venting his frustrations, and having a heart-to-heart with Coach about his desire to change. Coffins and Cradles was another episode I wouldn't recommend watching as a standalone, at least not until you've watched the series up until that point, because there are character arcs and plot points that might not fully resonate if you're unfamiliar with the series. But that being said, if you're already a fan of home movies or you don't mind jumping into episodes without prior context, Coffins and Cradles is totally a perfect addition to your October lineup. I mean, Jesus, the episode is hilarious with tons of standout moments like Brendan and Linda's heated argument in the hospital, Brendan's awkward attempts to film Linda giving birth, and Jason going ballistic on candy. I mean, all of those relate to Halloween in some way, shape, or form. I don't know, there are just so many small, hilarious moments in this episode that will leave you in stitches, and I think you should definitely give it a try. Moral Oral, God-Fearing.
You killed him.
Finally, we have the Moral Oral episode, God-Fearing, which premiered on February 26th, 2006. You know what? It's close enough to Halloween. It really is. Now, normally I don't recommend Moral Oral to new viewers unless they're into darker, more serious themes, but this episode in particular is one of a few where I think anyone could really just jump right into it, understand what's going on, and actually enjoy it without feeling too uncomfortable. It's Halloween in Morrilton, and the church is hosting a haunted house filled with scary monsters and werewolves with guns. Yeah, that's a thing. Everyone is pretty freaked out except for Oral, who's dressed as the 10 Commandments. Oral isn't exactly afraid of the monsters or guns because he believes the Lord will protect him. He then takes a look at his 10 Commandments costume and realizes that he needs to feel fear. So by his logic, if he breaks all 10 Commandments and sins today and fears God, he can repent the following day and everything will be fine, because that's how you do it. Except, well, on Oral's journey of breaking all 10 Commandments, he turns into a complete jerk, messing with people, robbing people, and he even tries to kill an old man to break the final commandment. But technically that plan kind of backfires when his father Clay accidentally runs the guy over, but you know, of course Clay, being father of the year, blames Oral for it. Eventually Reverend Putty steps in and sets Oral straight. That's just a basic plot synopsis of this episode. There's a lot more that goes on, but as I said previously, God-Fearing is one of the few episodes of Moral Oral that I think a new viewer could totally watch and understand. It's also not one of the darkest episodes in the series, so I'd probably recommend this one to more people, but I don't know, if you're someone who can't stand the sight of an old guy made of clay getting run over, then maybe this episode isn't right for you, and that's totally okay. Well, there you have it. 7 Halloween-esque, Adult Swim specials and episodes that I totally recommend for anyone looking to expand their October binge playlist. Do me a favor, okay? Let me know in the comments below which ones you'll be checking out this season. And hey, if there are other Halloween-esque Adult Swim or even Cartoon Network-related specials you'd like me to cover throughout this month, drop those suggestions down below. Who knows, maybe there will be a part 2 to this video. If you guys did go on to enjoy the video, do me a favor and leave a like. Subscribe to the channel if you're brand new around here. Click the bell icon to be notified whenever I upload a brand new video. Follow me on all of my social links, and join my Discord server. The links are in the bio below. Have a scary day, I guess. What is it, Friday? Have a scary Friday. And remember to, I don't know, don't come to my house. I don't have anything.